You're listening to episode 135, Judith's Story, a twin born with albinism. Hello, my friends. I'm so glad that you're here today. As always, I'm just so grateful that you're tuning in to listen to other parents share their stories in the hopes that these stories get to other parents who are going through similar situations and having a child with a new diagnosis or has even had a diagnosis for a while. But hearing other people share is what this is all about. Today, I get to introduce you to Judith, and she is, I'm going to just say it, the most positive person I've ever met. There is nobody quite like Judith in the way that she is able to articulate what her faith has done for her in terms of positivity. She will share with us a story, but just to give you a preview, she waited 10 years to have her kids and just knew she was going to have boy-girl twins from the very beginning. And she shares a little bit about how far she went into manifesting these twins and how that positivity, even during the times of infertility and then giving birth and having twins and one of them having albinism, what that did for her in coping and dealing with her daughter's albinism now. Judith also talks about the cultural impact of where she gave birth geographically to a daughter with albinism, and had she done that in Nigeria, her home country, how different her experience would be. So it's a pretty incredible woman to be able to listen to, and we're just so grateful that she shared with us here on the podcast. So stay for the end because she has so many good one-liners throughout, but I think she just has so much tangible advice for parents. And also she'll share with us how to follow along with her on Instagram, and I've also linked that information in the show notes. Okay, really quick before we jump into the conversation. If you are a child life specialist and you are certified and you like cool people and you like to get really affordable PDUs and you love to share information and resources because you don't want to reinvent the wheel, then you need to come join us in the Child Life Circle community. We are child life specialists who not only chat on forums and share information, but we get really cool webinars from community organizations and also access to PDUs. So it is $14.99 a month until the end of October. So come in and join us, be a founding member, get to know us. We hope to see you. You can visit childlifeoncall.com, click on Child Life Circle to learn more information, including a letter to give to your employer to see if they can pay for your memberships. So, okay, join us there and we hope to see you.
I have two children, twins, Kamsi and Kachi. One of the kids we're talking about today, her name is Kachi, and she's the female twin because I have a boy and a girl. I'm a photographer, and I also work as a support worker. So I work at night, and then I do my business in the day. We're originally from Nigeria. Nigeria is in Africa. I moved to Canada 2005, a long time ago, as a student. And, I was off and on because my partner lived in Nigeria, but I had those kids. I had my twins in 2016, and I decided to call Canada home. So we live in Canada now. I live here with my two kids. I still have my partner in Nigeria. And the kids are in grade 1 now. I still do my business full-time and then do my 9 to 5, my overnight job full-time as well. So, yeah, I'm a busy mom.
So the question is, when do you sleep?
Good question. So, I get some sleep after I get back from work. I usually take about 3 hours nap when the kids are in school, and that's about all I get.
Oh my
I also
goodness.
get some time off. Yeah, I have some days off from work.
Okay.
I work 5 days a week and then 2 days off. So on my days off, I get all the rest that I can. But yeah, that's as good as it gets.
Are we interrupting your normal nap time right now?
Not at all, because I resume work tonight.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I was off on Monday. I'm usually off on Monday and Tuesday night, and then I go back to work on Wednesday. So I am all rested and ready to go back to work tonight.
So being a support worker, is that like a social worker here in the US? How does that, what do you do as a support worker?
Yeah, so it's more like it's an aspect of a social work. I take care of an individual with mental health disability.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Gotcha.
that's what it's all about.
So I'm trying to do the math here. If your twins were born in 2016, that means they are 7 now, 8?
They are six, they turned 6 March this year, so they are 6 years now.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Oh, why can I think of that, Judith? My son was born in 2015. You'd think I'd be able to figure that out, and he's about to be 7. But math has never been my thing. So today we're talking a little bit about your daughter. Like you said, you were pregnant with twins, and tell us a little bit about the beginning of finding out that something was different about one of your kiddos.
Okay, so while I was pregnant, I didn't know anything about. I didn't know I was going to have one of them was going to be an albino. I did have when I was pregnant. I remember the doctors telling me your daughter is at risk of bleeding, so you have to be careful and take things easy and all that. It was just because of the way she was positioned, so it had nothing to do with her condition, right? And so, there was always, I had that risk of, bleeding and, losing her. But thankfully, she's here with us today. So all I remember was when I was, I think the first ultrasound I had, after the ultrasound, I remember, the doctor saying she wanted to see me. So I had to wait back, in order to see the doctor. And then she said, we have, while we were doing the ultrasound, we noticed that, I don't know what it's called, like the bridge between the eyes, the nose, the tip of the nose here between the eyes, right? They actually want to see it during the ultrasound, they want to see that the bone right there, right? But I think in their own case, it was flat. They couldn't see it. So the doctor became concerned and said, usually when that happens, they attribute that to Down syndrome, right? So, he was saying things like, we couldn't find that in both of the kids. So, there's a likelihood of this and that. And of course, I was very scared, right? I guess it wasn't just with one of the kids, it was with both of them, right? So that didn't stop there. Every ultrasound I went, they had something bad to say. I remember at a point in time, they said it was because the water in the amniotic sac was less than normal. I didn't have like the normal fluid, the amount of fluid they wanted to see, right? So every time I went there, it was one thing after the other. At some point in time, they said it was trisomy 8, blah, blah, blah. And I remember them referring me to a support group and saying, go join this group. And, usually like when people are diagnosed with something while they're pregnant, or the babies are diagnosed with something, they have you join a support group, just to help you mentally and everything to get prepared. So I am a Christian and I think differently. So I said to myself, if I go join the support group, it means I've actually accepted this condition, right? But I chose not to accept it because I said, no, that's not going to happen to my. I chose to stay positive and, just stay in faith. And I refused to accept that. So every time I went for ultrasound, it was one thing after the other. But, I just stayed positive and, just believed the kids, the twins were normal and, doing great and all that. So when it was close to the time to give birth, I was actually a little bit scared because of everything they've said about them, right? And so even though I was scared, I still was positive and, I just kept confessing everything is going to be all right, blah, 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 right? And being a Christian, I prayed as well, and I just believed everything was going to be okay. Oh, on the day that I had them, it was another ultrasound. I went and then the doctor was like, "Okay, you're having this baby today," because she weighed very little, like it wasn't normal. She was very tiny. So while the boy was growing and growing at a normal age, she was at some point she stopped growing because the my son was like twice bigger than her, right? So at 37 weeks, I went for ultrasound, and then the doctor said, "You're gonna have the babies today because she stopped growing," right? So I went from there straight to the hospital, for to give birth to them. It was actually CS, cesarean section. So when I got there, with then after the delivery, she didn't cry. They had to like do some things to make her cry, but I noticed the face of one of the daughters, like well, I saw one of them and I noticed the look on his face. But all I was just hoping was that everything was okay with them. With everything they had said to me about Down syndrome, trisomy 8, this and that, I mean, I had reasons to worry and just be sure that everything was okay with them. So eventually she cried, and then I got a glimpse of her, and I noticed she was, I mean, the color was totally different, right? Like her hair was all white and everything. And I didn't know what to think at that point in time. I think it was all confusion at first, like, what's
Right.
going on here? Is that my baby? The first thing I thought was, is there somebody else giving birth here? Is this somebody else's baby? Like, where is my baby? It was all
Right.
like just confusion. And so eventually they wrapped her up and then wrapped my son and then brought them to me. And then that's when it dawned on me that this is actually my baby. Because the first thing I thought was, that's probably somebody's baby they're cleaning up, right?
Yeah.
So when they brought her and then put her on my chest, that's when I realized, oh, this is my baby. And then at that time I was really too tired, but I remember being a little bit concerned, like, what's going on here? Is she albino? Is it a medical condition? What could it
Right.
be, right? But instantly, like a mother seeing her baby for the first time, I was also overwhelmed with joy and everything. Looking at their faces, I didn't see like any other deformity or any other abnormality other than her color, right? So I had that sense of relief that, okay, they're normal, their facial structures is all good and everything. And then on the other side, I had this worry of what's going on with her, and all that. So,
It's like
yeah,
existing
and
in
then
two different worlds. It's like having,
world,
uh,
exactly, right?
yeah,
So having some relief and then having some concerns as well, right? So,
yeah,
but in my head, I remember the first thing I thought is albinism, right? Because her hair color was off and everything. But
yeah,
I was also scared and wondering, is there any other thing other than albinism going on here, right?
right.
So yeah, and then she stayed longer in the hospital because she was way too tiny. So she had to stay longer. I took my son home, and she had to stay, I think, 2 weeks more in the hospital because they needed her to grow to the normal weight, and then before I could take her home, right? So while that was going on, I remember a doctor came to my room and then asked if I have any history of albinism in my family. Right, so I started to put one and one together. Oh, okay, so this must be albinism. So I told him no, because really I don't recall seeing any in my family. And then on my husband's side as well, they don't have that history. So of course I didn't know where that came from, right? So
Yeah.
he talked about the possibility of my daughter having, albinism and all that. My mom was in denial. My mom kept saying, no, it's not albinism. I think it's just that newborn color, because sometimes they give that to a baby and then the baby is all white, and then eventually, the normal skin color starts to, show up, right? So I noticed my mom was worried as well. I think she actually transferred that worry to me because I wasn't as worried initially. I was just glad that I have a healthy baby. But the more she kept talking about it, and the more she got me worried, right? So it was when the doctor came to my room to talk about the history of albinism. That's when I realized, okay, this is what it is. So, so at that point, I knew what I was dealing with, right? And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's that's about it for now. I mean, so that's how we got to know that she has albinism.
So they were able to give you the diagnosis. Had you ever known someone with albinism before?
No, yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen people with albinism,
Sure.
right? But I've
Yeah.
never really had any close contact with them. And
Okay.
coming from Africa, I know for a fact that people with albinism, they are bullied, they are not treated nicely. So, and in some part of Africa, in some part of Africa, and even some part of Nigeria, it's considered a taboo. Like when you have a child with albinism, you're treated like like an outcast. You're treated differently, right?
Mm.
So that I think that's where my mom's concern came from the most. Like people's acceptance of her. Like how are people going to accept her? But thankfully, we're in a civilized country. Like we live in Canada. But she worried about people back home. How she was going to be accepted and all that. I think that's where it came from. Okay, so I remember when I was growing up, the closest contact I had with somebody who had albinism. It's growing up, a young girl. I was in a university. I met this albino guy, walking on the street, and then he called me and he introduced himself to me and he wanted to be friends with me, right? And so I showed him my house and then he came to visit and I wasn't home. And so when I got back home, I actually met him leaving. As I was going back home, I met him leaving, and I noticed, like, he wasn't quite happy. And so when I go back home and I asked my mom what happened, my mom was like, "Oh, that are you? What? Some albino guy came to visit you. Where did you meet him? Are you friends with him?" And blah blah blah. So that's how we were treated back home. There wasn't even so much acceptance, even from our parents, of people with albinism, right? So, of course, I became worried about how people were going to accept her. But then I had this relief that we don't live in Africa, we live in Canada. So it's going to be a different ballgame here than back home. But again, I also had a concern of her being different and how she's going to be treated in school. So one of the major reasons I worried, while she was a baby was, is she going to be bullied? Are people going to accept her? Are people going to understand that this is albinism? Will people know what this is? Like just questions about her acceptance. That's just what I worried about. So she was diagnosed because we were referred to a doctor, and then we were referred to counseling, and I got talked to, explaining what the condition was all about, and the effects on her, and what things we're gonna be challenges we're gonna be dealing with eventually, right? So I realized, vision was gonna be a problem. I was gonna have to keep her away from the sun. Back home in Africa, one of the major things people with albinism face is skin, and then they have this pot coming on their skin, right? And that's because they are exposed to sunlight. So they are prone to skin cancer because if they stay in sun longer than they're supposed to, they get sunburned easily, right? And then if that happens over a period of time, they tend to, get skin cancer. So, I was uh, counseled, and, um, I got to know what albinism was all about and how we can help manage, albinism.
I have a question for you. And gosh, you speak so eloquently about your experience. And thank you so much for, kind of bringing us into what an experience may be like in your home country, and what it means for you to be in Canada right now in a civilized society, as you said.
Right.
I'm sure it's really easy to go down a rabbit hole of like, what if we weren't here,
Mhm.
and what all that would be.
Mhm.
But you mentioned during your pregnancy that it was hard for you to accept, you maintained this positivity.
Mhm.
But one of the things that's so beautiful is when you wrote to me, and one of the questions is, how do you handle the stress of it all?
Mhm.
You wrote, I embrace my daughter's albinism and have seen the beauty in her being different, so I don't consider it stressful in any way. And I just think that's such a beautiful bridge to, what you were feeling, that positivity during your pregnancy that maintains till now.
Yeah. So when I think it all comes from my Christian background, right? In Christianity, we talk about having faith. like believing against all odds. So I learned a lot of things from how to stay positive in when you're in a trying or difficult times, how to stay positive and believe the best, right? I have the story of my pregnancy journey and how I have those kids. It's a miracle on its own, right? So I couldn't have children for 10 years, right? We did everything we could. I did a first IVF. It didn't work out. We went back for embryo transfer. We were told the embryo didn't survive. We tried for 10 years and nothing happened. So eventually, we decided to go for another IVF in India, right? So in my years of waiting, this is a very interesting story. While I was waiting the 10 years, I remember in the second year, I said to myself, because while growing up, I kind of knew that I was going to wait to have children. That fear just always lived in me, right? So I carried on that on till when I got married. And when I met my partner, I told him, I said, I've always had a fear that I'm going to have to wait to have children, right? So when it happened, I wasn't surprised. But the second year into waiting, I said to myself, if I'm going to wait to have children, then when it's time, I'm not going to have one, I'm going to have two, and I'm going to have a boy and a girl. I said that to myself. So the second year into waiting, yeah. So the second year into waiting, I decided to name them, even though I didn't have the children already. I said, when I eventually have those twins, I'm going to name one of them Kamsi. The boy is going to be Kamsi, and I'm going to name the girl Kachi. So what I did at that time was that I got pictures of twin babies, and I remember putting them as screensavers on my laptop and then on my phone. They were just random twin babies from the internet, right? So I used them as, screensaver. And then I remember we lived in a two-bedroom apartment at that time. So myself and my husband, we had one room, and then we decided to make the second room the children's room. So we called it the children's room, right? And so we had two beds in the room. We called one of the beds Campus bed, and then we called the other bed Catch's bed. And I remember we had two teddy bears. We bought two giant teddy bears. One was pink, one was blue. So we put a blue one on Campus bed, and then the pink one on Catch's bed. And so we decorated the room, painted it child-friendly, multicolored, and we had toys in the house. If you come to my house at that time, you would actually think I have children. So we just made the whole house, child-friendly, and we started calling it Kenzie and Catch's room. So when people come to the house, like family members, we just tell them, like, everybody refers to the room as Kenzie and Catch's room, even though they weren't there at that time, right? There were other crazy things I did at that time as well. I bought a Bible, two Bibles. I wrote Kenzie's name on one. I wrote Catch's name. When I go to church and I wanted to do offering, I put the money in an envelope. I put Kenzie's money. So I just started acting like they were real to me. It was crazy, right? Everybody who knew me then, they knew Kenzie and Catchy because I talked about them because I would say, oh, when Kenzie and Catchy is here, when Kenzie and Catchy is here. So everybody even knew their names before they were born, right? So I carried this throughout until I got pregnant, right? So when we had the IVF, when we went for the IVF, and I remember the first ultrasound, when they confirmed I was pregnant. And I remember the first ultrasound, the doctor was looking and she said, oh, I see this embryo. Oh, you're having a baby. I looked at her and I said, no, doctor, I'm having babies. And she said, oh, wow, well, I only see one baby, so I don't know what you're talking about. And I just smiled because I knew within me. So the thing is, having acted like I have twins, having acted like I have Kenzie and Catchy, it became a part of me, right? Nobody could talk me out of the fact that I was going to have twin babies and they were going to be Kenzie and Catchy. They were so real to me that I could feel them. I felt that energy. I felt like I was a twin mom, right? So after the first ultrasound and they only saw one baby, I wasn't bothered. So when I went for the second ultrasound, they checked and they're like, oh, two babies. I said, well, yeah, that's my twin baby. Right.
Told you so.
Exactly. So now it's been confirmed, right? So even when the doctor was saying things like, uh, trisomy 8 and Down syndrome and all of that. Being from a Christian background, I said to myself, if I have asked for twin babies and I asked for a boy and girl and I have the boy and girl, I don't believe they're going to be abnormal babies. I asked for these children and these children have come. So it was just from a faith angle, from a belief and a positive belief and having faith in God because I'm a Christian. So I chose to believe what I want, and that's what faith is all about, right? So I remember when I was 3 months, I called my sister in US and I said, can you please help me buy, my baby clothes, things for the babies? And she said, why don't you wait till we find out the genders before we go ahead and shop? I said, no, I'm having a boy and a girl, so help me buy, baby stuff for boy and girl. And she was like, okay, I give up. We had a little argument and eventually she decided to go buy the stuff, right? And she bought for a boy and a girl and sent them to me. So on the day that I was going to confirm the gender of my babies, I think I was 5 months on then, I remember going to having the ultrasound, and the lady was like, let's make a wild guess. And she said, can you tell me what she's going to scan the first baby? Can you tell me the name, who do you think is on the right side, right? So I made a guess, and I said, it's a boy. And so when she checked the right side, it was the boy on the right side. And she said, how did you know? I said, well, and I'll tell you how I knew. But before that, let me complete the story. So after that, she checked the left side, and she said, you know who it's on this side? Can you make a guess? I said, yeah, it's a girl. So lo and behold, I checked the other side, and it was a girl. And she said, how did you know? I said, the reason is because, while I was getting those negative reports about them and saying trisomy 8 and this and that, every time I go back home from the ultrasound, I would place my hands on my tummy, right? And then naturally, I will place my right hand on my right side, and I will place my left hand on my left side, and I will call the right side Kamsi, and I will call the left side Kachi, right? Because I wanted to talk to them. I kept talking to them while I was pregnant. So I will place those hands there and then call Kamsi, and I will talk to him, and I will say, Kamsi, you are normal, you are perfect, and then I will pray for him, right? And I'll do the same thing on the other side, and I will call Kachi. So it was just something I did consciously. But then while I was doing that, I just always felt that I was talking to them and I was talking to the right baby. So that's how, we found out that it was Kamsi on the right side and it was Kachi on the other side. And lo and behold, they never moved. They were there all through till I gave birth to them, because every time I went for ultrasound, he was always the one on the right side, and it was always Kachi on the left side, because that's how I talk to them. Whenever I put my hands there, that's how I talk to them, and they just stay there till I give birth to them, right? So, it was the same positive spirit that I had while pregnant. That's what I had after I got the diagnosis, I just felt, and I kept telling them, you are normal, no matter what people say, no matter what they say, you are a normal child. And that's not where it ends. When I gave birth to Kachi, I remember there is a group here in Canada. I think it's the Legal Blind Society of Calgary, or what it's called. They came to me and said, your baby, they came and just gave me the worst case scenarios. And I remember them bringing Braille. I think that's what blind people used to write. Is it what it's called, Braille? So I remember
to read.
Mm-hmm. Bring it once to me and say, your daughter is going to need it eventually, because there's always this challenge of vision, right? And so they told me the worst case scenario. In some cases, they are blind. In some cases, legally blind. I don't know what that means, but just letting me know that she's going to have problems with her vision, right? And she might need that. So I've always been one that it's, I choose faith instead of fear. So I said to myself, while they were there, we discussed and everything, and they wanted me to join the group. And I said to myself, if I join this group, it means acceptance. I've accepted the fact that this is what my daughter is, or this is what is going to happen to her. But I choose to have faith. I choose to stay positive instead of, fear. So I remember that after they left, I took it to the garbage, and I'm really sorry to say this, if they're ever going to get to hear this. I took it to the garbage, because that's a way of rejecting that concession or rejecting whatever it is. I don't want my child to be legally blind.
Yeah.
I don't want my child to be blind. So I rejected that, and I just chose to stay positive, right? So after they left, I took it to the garbage, and I never joined the society. I never invited them to my house again. I never joined the group or anything. But yeah, I know when she turned 1, we went to the vision specialist. No, I think she was actually 8 months, and she got glasses. So she's been using glasses. But to be very honest with you, my daughter reads without glasses. Her vision is not perfect, but it's not so bad either. She doesn't have to use Braille.
Yeah.
She can. So the thing with people with albinism is they're usually short-sighted. So in most cases, you find them that they put the books really close to their eyes just so they can see perfectly. That's not the case with my daughter. She can see from a good distance, so she doesn't have to put book very close to her eyes. And just like I said, she reads without glasses, which is a good thing, right? So her vision is not perfect, but it's not so bad either. And that's one of the challenges we're dealing with. Her vision, and I just try to keep her away from the sun, so her skin is perfect, right? And so for me, one way
you take such good care of her.
Yeah, one way to deal with that is full acceptance, right? So when she turned 1, I started looking at her differently because, I think I still had questions up until she turned 1. I still had questions of, how things are going to go and all that. But when she turned 1, I think that's when the full acceptance came in. I just decided, okay, I'm going to accept her just the way she is. And rather than start seeing what's not working or what's not going to work, I chose to stay positive and just see the beauty in her. That's when I started noticing her pink lips, her eye color, her skin color, her golden hair and everything. And I just started appreciating and celebrating the beauty in albinism rather than, just focus on what's going to happen or, the challenges she's going to face or what people are going to say or not. If I was given $1 million today, because when she was a baby, I thought about what can we do to make her black. I remember my mom saying, back in Africa, there is this leaf they use, people who have children with albinism, they use a certain kind of leaf to bathe them and change their skin colors, right? So we're thinking of things we can do to, change her and, her hair is white. How can we tone it down to almost black and all that? Just looking for ways to change her. But if you were to give me $1 million today to change her skin color one bit, I wouldn't even take it. She's perfect the way she is. And I just celebrate her beauty all the time. And every time I tell her how beautiful she is. And one of the reasons I do that is I feel if she hears it very often from me and know how beautiful she is, it's going to be hard for anybody else to convince her otherwise. Like if she goes to school and somebody tells her she's ugly. No, because she's beautiful several times. That's what she knows. That's what she has believed. So it's going to be difficult for somebody to tell her otherwise. So I tell her she's beautiful all the time. And she says it herself. She says, I think I have a picture on Instagram where I think it's a video where she was talking about being different and how she likes to be different, right? So I know that I have to work on her mind as well and let her, just make her accept herself. Because when she was a baby, like 2 years, I remember her asking, why am I different? Mommy, why is my brother different and all that? So I had to make her understand that she's different and it's okay to be different. And she's different in a beautiful way. So I tell her all the time that she's beautiful, and she knows that.
Oh my gosh, it made me tear up a little bit just hearing the impact that you've had on her. My question was going to be, do you think that what you say trickles down to her and that she, really understands how beautiful she is? And it sounds like the answer is yes, and that's such a gift that you've given her.
Yeah. So, she knows she's beautiful. She says that. She knows she's different, and she's accepted that. Sometimes when they make video for fun, So sometimes when she's making videos, she says, I'm Kamsi, and this is my brother. I'm Kachi, and this is my brother Kamsi. Kamsi is black, and I'm white, and I'm different. She says that. So she
Yeah.
knows she's
Yeah.
different. She's accepted that. But above all, she knows she's beautiful because I say it to her. I think there is no day goes by without her hearing you're beautiful.
Mm.
So I let her know she's different and she's beautiful. So she knows. So I think it's going to be. I think I remember her saying sometime that somebody called her a name in school or something like that. Because of course she's different and she's noticeably different. And she told the person it doesn't matter because I'm beautiful. So that's what I want her. I just
Mm.
want to put that confidence in her. Because I've listened to stories of people with albinism saying how they were bullied in school as kids and how it affected them, right? So that used to be a concern for me. So what I thought about is how do I, what do I do to make her accept herself? First of all, and not let people tell her she's different. So she already knows she's different, but accept herself just the way she is and know that in spite of her being different, she's beautiful and perfect. So it's something that, it's a continuous thing. I constantly have to let her know that, you're different, but you are beautiful. You're different in a beautiful way.
Mm.
So it's just a way of
I,
working on her mind and, making her accept herself just the way she is.
well, you're certainly doing a good job of that, it sounds like, which is amazing. And I just have one more question for you. Um, I would love to know what you have learned about yourself since becoming their mom.
Um, I think one major thing I've learned in my journey of life, in my journey of waiting to have children and having children and eventually having a child with albinism, is that in spite of all the challenges that we go through, there's always a good end to it. Now, I remember being worried about her when I had her, but she's actually also brought me a blessing. I mean, she's been a blessing to me. I've had several interviews. I've had, had people even like people who had eventually had children with albinism. I've had them call me because they want to talk to me and find out how I'm dealing with that. And I've been able to inspire a lot of people. I get DMs
Mm.
on Instagram most of the time about, oh, I just had this baby and she's an albino. How are you dealing with this? And I've been able to talk to them and inspire them to the point that they're also able to accept their children just the way they are and see the beauty in albinism. So I think she's taught me too that no matter what we go through in life, no matter the challenges, there is some good that comes out of it. Nothing happens in life by chance. Everything happens for a purpose. That's what I choose to believe. So, her being an albino, right? She's taught me also to inspire people and give hope to people with albinism as well. I remember this mom who was so worried. She was worried to the point that she didn't want. She had the babies and the babies were I think 6 months, and she lives in the U.S. But she's an African, and she couldn't tell family back home. She couldn't send the picture of the babies to them because she was scared of what people were going to say. She was concerned about acceptance, what people were going to say, right? So I remember talking to her, and over a period of time, her mindset started to change. And the last time I talked to her, oh, she was seeing the beauty in it. Like she had accepted it, I would think, because she's like, oh, I've sent the picture to them. Oh, now we don't care anymore. Oh, now myself and my husband now appreciate. We see the beauty in her and all that, right? If you look at, I
Wow.
think, and that's what I mean by the beauty in albinism. These people are different, but if you look closely at them, if you look at my daughter's eyes, it's different. It's so beautiful. She has this brownish,
Mm.
glittering eyes. I look at her lips, it's pink. I look at her hair color, golden. Like I can do a whole lot with it, right? So
Oh.
instead of being worried about the negative aspect of it, which we can manage, like the vision and the skin burn and all that, we have things to manage them, right? We have the glasses, we have the sunscreen to manage these things. Instead of focusing on them, focus on the good part of it. Focus on the beauty that comes with albinism. Focus on the child and the abilities your child has, and just focus on the positive things about your child, right? So it's taught me to be strong. It's taught me to know that out of every challenges we go through, it's always all for a reason. Sometimes good comes out of it as well. You know, um, like I said, I've done an interview with I think the Sun and some magazines and all that. Just sharing my story and creating awareness about this albinism not being a very like it's not the end of the world. There's a good part to it. So it's taught me to be strong and see challenges differently. Instead of sitting down and mourning and just being angry and asking questions, I just chose to embrace it and see the beauty in it and see the other side of it, right? Because you can't change things. It's happened. I mean, this is a lifelong thing. She's an albino. She's gonna be albino the rest of her life. So, what can I change? I can't change anything. So I had to accept it, right? And just choose to see it differently. Rather than seeing the negative part of it, I choose to see the good side of it and celebrate the good side of it. So I think that's...
And the more you practice, it sounds like the more you practice focusing on the positive, the more it shows itself to you as well.
Exactly. The more it becomes easier to deal with, right? Oh, so I was going to say that right now, it's not a challenge. It's not stressful at all, just because of how I choose to handle it. I wouldn't consider it a stress in any way. Rather, I choose to celebrate it. And just like I said to you, if I were given $1 million today to take her skin color or change it in any way or any form, no, I wouldn't accept it, because I chose to accept her just the way she is. She's perfect to me.
Well, I think she's perfect too, and she definitely gets it from her mom, that positivity, and you can just feel it come down from you to her. You mentioned that you're okay with talking with other parents who are going through similar situations. So can you let us know your Instagram or Facebook or wherever people can find you and follow along with you?
Yeah, so I have an Instagram account. It's for them, where I take pictures. I'm a photographer, right? So I take pictures of them every once in a while, and I post it there. So it's a black _N, so just the letter N, and then _white, and then _twins. So black and white twins.
Okay, love it. So we can find you there, and if people want to reach out, they can do that on Instagram.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you for your time today. I am so grateful for you just being who you are and so courageously sharing some details that are probably not that easy to share, but it sounds like you just radiate positivity, and I literally feel it all the way from Canada down to Texas. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for the opportunity as well. I'm always very happy to share my story, because I always want to encourage somebody. I mean, I've been there, I know what it feels like. So if I can just encourage one or two people, just make their day and make them happy and make them accept fully what they have in front of them, then that makes my day as well. So thanks for the opportunity, and thanks for your time as well.
Thank you for listening to the Child Life On Call podcast. I'm your host, Katie Taylor, and you can follow us at Child Life On Call on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please rate and review to make it easier for other families to find us. We have cute merch available at www.bonfire.com/store/childlifeoncall, and you can listen to more episodes and find resources at childlifepodcast.com.